Hi friends, Apex Legends Season 9 is well underway, and I thought this would be the perfect time to do a full lore recap focusing on the backstory of every legend in the game up to Season 9. And I'm going to use the stories from the Outlands and official canon to keep this as accurate as possible. Now this is part 1. You see, Apex Legends has a rich and deep story centered around the Apex games. And at the core of the Apex games are the legends themselves, a group of heroes that are in the game for very different reasons, but each legend has a very interesting and detailed backstory that start way before they even joined the Apex games. We've got Pathfinder, who's the friendliest robot you'll ever meet, unless you're in a Bloodsport tournament and he's trying to kill you, of course, but he'd still be super nice about it. Pathfinder is a Mark II Mobile Robotic Versatile Entity Automated Assistant, or Marvin unit as they're better known as. First booted up on February 04, 2658 as part of the Project Iris by the group. Pathfinder is heavily modified and designed specifically to assist the group in their task of refining Beranthium. His modifications include, among other things, a chassis with reinforced metal, specialised heat shield to withstand high temperature, state-of-the-art facial recognition software, and customised programming that allows him to verbalise as well as access extensive medical and physics knowledge. In addition to all of this, he was also given an amalgamation of his creators' personalities and the capability to learn from experience. Now, after they were able to successfully refine their batch of Beranthium, Dr. Ashley Reed, one of the creators, betrayed the rest of her colleagues in the group as part of Project Iris, setting off a chain of events that would lead to the phase run accident on Olympus. Somehow Pathfinder was booted down and put on standby, but he would eventually be booted up again 33 years ago in an abandoned laboratory with no idea who created him or why. With only his Marvin designation to hint at his identity, Pathfinder set off in search of his creator by stowing on merchant ships and travelling everywhere for a couple of years. After one of his legs broke due to someone attempting to steal it, he took odd jobs again to gain information about his maker and to get money to fix his leg. In 2725, he was working as a waiter in Malta, where he met Victor Maldera, who arrested him after inadvertently killing one of the restaurant's customers. Maldera took a look at his logs and saw that Pathfinder was able to witness and have video evidence of a one Alexander Knox, and the video evidence showed Knox escaping from Humbert Labs, where Knox was presumed dead. Now Maldera, who was obsessively pursuing the case of Knox, wanted to get a copy of the footage. It was during this that Pathfinder had the first actual clue to one of his creators, a certain Amelie P. The resulting scuffle, due to him witnessing a mafia member's murder of another person, had him incapacitated for an unknown amount of time, although he was eventually activated once again and promptly resumed his search. It was during a chance encounter with the bartender Elliot Witt, his future best friend, in Solace City that he learned about the Apex games. It has been 4 years since then, and Pathfinder has learnt a lot from his travels and experience in the games, but was nowhere closer to finding his creator. However, he found a decapitated Marvin unit on Olympus, and with help from Lifeline, Octane and Gibraltar, he managed to acquire a battery to power it up. The now activated Marvin played an audio log that gave Pathfinder clues to his creators. With notes from the audio log on hand, he set off on a quest for answers from his friends, the legends. The quest led him to Cuban Blisk's office at Syndicate Tower, and the Apex Games commissioner provided him with the truth about his creators and a photo of them, identifying some familiar faces. Next, we have our own Bloodhunder, but you can call them Bloodhound. Find them and you will do battle. Bloodhound was the child of 2 engineers stationed at the New Dawn industrial plant on Talos. It is the area we know as World's Edge today. Bloodhound, however, was taken in by their uncle after a meltdown destroyed the facility and killed both their parents. Arthur taught them the old ways, belief system that focused on the glory of nature and rejects modern technology. One day when on a hunt, they stumbled across a Goliath and had to use both the new and old ways to take it down. However, Bloodhunder did not properly defeat the Goliath. On returning to their village with the horn of the Goliath, Arthur sensed the use of the new ways and was not happy. It was at that moment the Goliath made its way to the village and caused havoc and fear amongst the villagers. The villagers, along with Arthur, attempted to fight off the beastly Goliath, and in doing so, Arthur was badly injured. Bloodhound used the new ways to defeat the Goliath, taking the explosive element of the charge rifle to scare off the Goliath. Arthur realised in his final moments that Bloodhound was in fact the one to lead their people in both the new and old ways combined. Bloodhound later goes back to defeat the Goliath, and in the battle ends up needing the use of a mask. All of this has turned Bloodhound into one of the greatest game hunters the Frontier has ever seen. And all this in support with loyal Raven named after Uncle Arthur. Next we have Wraith. Born on the destroyed planet of Typhon, senior silence pilot Renee Blasey worked with one Amir Singh on an interdimensional phase technology project. Somehow, Renee ended up volunteering for her own experiment after no one else would volunteer, and this experiment seemingly failed, with her partner ending up betraying her and locking her away. Sometime later, Renee, codenamed Project Wraith, later wakes up at an IMC detention facility with no memory of who she was. She also begins hearing a distant voice whispering in her mind, and this will keep her awake for days on end, nearly driving her insane. It was one day when she was in the facility that a portal opened. Just before she was due to be sedated, a person wearing a purple helmet came out of the portal, scaring the facility staff away. That person berated her for not fighting back and revealed herself to be Wraith. It was in fact Wraith from another dimension, who was on a quest for revenge on the people that experimented on her. With this Voidwalker's help, the present-day Wraith learned to trust the voices and was given a device needed for her to safely manipulate the Void. Using a portal to the Void's dimensions, she was able to escape the facility, arriving in Kings Canyon, which was still under construction for the Apex Games. Determined to uncover her truth, Wraith began on a quest to find out more about the experiment and herself. Now there are actually two timelines at play here, because the Voidwalker is actually the original Wraith from this dimension, and when she swapped into the other portal on her quest for revenge against Amir Singh, she ended up swapping places with the Wraith that we have in the Apex Games today. But one thing's for sure, present day Wraith won't stop on her quest to understand who she really is, and perhaps this will eventually lead to her looking for revenge. Tajan Park, or Crypto as he's better known as, is a brilliant hacker and encryption expert. As a young orphan, he was raised on the planet Gaia by a caretaker known as Mystic at Tikachek Orphanage in Sutamo, a lady that actually has a strong relation to Caustic, which you'll see in part 2 of this series. Tajan actually escapes life of squalor by becoming a computer engineer for the Mercenary Syndicate, along with his foster sister Mila Alexander, who interestingly takes the Alexander part from Caustic, and you'll understand a little bit more why when you hear Caustic's backstory. Together, Mila and Crypto designed drones used by the Syndicate to transmit the Apex Games across the Outlands. One day, Crypto and Mila stumble upon an algorithm that could depict the results of any Apex match, hidden away in the game's own computer systems. However, this caught the attention of the wrong people. The next day, Mila disappeared, and Taejun was forced into hiding after he was framed for her murder. With his reputation destroyed and the Syndicate after him, he gave up his identity, his face, and his family in order to facilitate his redemption. He knew he would not be able to pass the game's qualifiers, so he hacked into the game's mainframe and put himself in the records as Haeun Kim from Solace, but not before blowing up Kings Canyon's repulsor tower to serve as a distraction. However, this distraction was enough to get him into the games and pursue his goal to clear his name, because sometimes the spotlight is the best place to hide. Now, as it turns out, Mila was actually taken by the Syndicate, but somehow managed to escape, and she's lying low in a secret hiding location. Hopefully we'll get to see Crypto reunite with his sister one day. We do also know that Crypto and Watson have a blossoming relationship through the games. That was until Caustic framed Crypto for sabotaging the Legend's hunt for the Broken Ghost. That relationship, however, has since been put back on track, with Crypto revealing his true identity to Watson. Currently, Watson is the only Legend that knows Crypto's real identity. For sure, I'm certain we'll see Watson and Crypto's relationship continue to develop. For now though, they remain friends. Moving on to the simulacrum Revenant. Revenant first booted up in 2420, though it took another 20 years for the robotic shell to function properly, after which he was delivered to the Syndicate for their use. A simulacrum is a robot soldier with a human mind. They are essentially a digital backup of a selected individual's memories, knowledge and personality. For 3 centuries, Revenant has been an agent of death for the Syndicate. Simply type the name of the target, and a day later they are dead. When Revenant himself dies, his masters resurrect him again and again in a new shell, snatching him from death's embrace and programming him to forget. He used to look in the mirror and see his human face looking back at him. One day after killing Marcos and Alonso Andrade, a glass shard causes a malfunction, and at this point, he finally looks in the mirror and sees himself for what he has become. He swore that he would hunt down every last person who did this to him, but more than 2 centuries have passed and they're all gone, or so he thought. The return of Hammond Robotics to the Outlands has renewed his thirst for vengeance. He snuck into their facilities, trying to find out more about himself. When an interview of Forge, a legend sponsored by Hammond, was conducted on World's Edge, he actually went there and killed Forge. The Syndicate after this chose to add him to the games as a way for him to quench his thirst for killing, but his ultimate goal for revenge is still there. We also find out later on that Revenant actually wants to die, and he finally wants to be put to rest. However, the only way for this to happen is for his source code to be destroyed. And this brings us on to Loba Andrade. She was 9 years old when Revenant ambushed her parents' dinner on 10 May in Olympus and killed them. This left Loba with nothing, and she was given to a foster family. But like her mother and father, she quickly discovered she was good at being a thief. She started with picking pockets, and as her skills improved, Loba used every tool at her disposal to lift herself from the gutter. Everything changed when she broke into an impenetrable facility and got her hands on the jump drive tech stored inside a bracelet. With her new teleportation bracelet, she was able to attain any item and ascended to her dream of living the high life much like her parents. In doing this, rumours spread across the Outlands. If you wanted something valuable and well guarded, Loba was the person to go to, and she was almost able to put her past behind her. But when Revenant joined the games, her past was catapulted back in front of her, and revenge was all she could think about. Desperate to find a way to kill him, she found out that the source code for Revenant and the only way to kill him was being stored in a bunker underneath King's Canyon. With the help of her friend Jamie, she managed to infiltrate that location. However, when she destroyed it, she learned that the source code was transmitted to another facility in Samathi. However, in destroying part of King's Canyon, she had to make a deal with the Syndicate to avoid their wrath. The deal was that she would find what turned out to be pieces of Ash's head from an alternate dimension, and in exchange, the Syndicate would give her the coordinates for Revenant's source code. Jumping through Season 5, Loba finally finds Ash's head with the help of the other legends, and she gets the coordinates for Revenant's source code. But in doing this, she finds out Revenant does actually want to die, leaving her with a difficult decision. She either completes her revenge mission and destroys Revenant's source code, but actually ends up giving him exactly what he wants, or she changes her plan and doesn't destroy the source code, and therefore preventing Revenant getting from what he actually wants. She makes the decision later on in Season 7 when she sends his source code off into the abyss, making it nigh on impossible for Revenant to ever find his source code. I'm sure one day we will see more in this storyline. We do know that Revenant can't destroy his own source code because of his programming, meaning if he ever does find it, he's going to need someone to help him out. Also, currently in Loba's story, we're getting to see a really interesting romance blossom between Loba and Valkyrie, and I'm certain we will see more of this storyline develop. Ramia Perek, more commonly known as Rampart. She is the youngest legend at 21 years old and is originally from the planet Gaia. Rampart is a blue-collar private business owner. Before opening her popular modding shop on Gaia, Rampart made a name for herself in the underground gauntlet circuit. Rampart climbed to the top using pure skill and showcasing her custom modded gear. She began taking jobs from smugglers, syndicate members, and everyone in between. Rampart actually has a history of friendship with a number of legends, including Gibraltar and Bangalore, and she's often modded weapons used in the Apex games, as well as the Titan-inspired suit used by Valkyrie. Rampart has never been afraid to speak her mind, often telling people how bad they are. It's possible she did take this too far one day when a group of assailants ambushed her at her shop. She fought them off, but Big Sister, the leader of the group, somehow managed to sneak up on her and knock her out. Her business burnt down, and she was left with nothing except an invitation card to the Apex Games from Cuban Blisk. For Rampart, the Apex card is more than just an invitation to compete. It's a sign that she may have lost her shop, but she didn't lose what built it. Rampart later managed to set up a shop in Mirage's bar, and has been building her business up slowly but surely until Mirage somehow managed to ship all of her equipment to Olympus. Luckily, Rampart managed to make a deal with Hammond Engineering after a lawsuit, and this led to Rampart setting up a second shop on Olympus, as well as modding the Trident on Olympus. There is seemingly a growing relationship between Mirage and Rampart. They're definitely really close. Rampart is currently growing her modding business, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more from the Mirage and Rampart romance. And this actually covers the backstory for each of these legends and brings us up to the end of part 1. I'm sure we'll learn lots more about each of these legends as the seasons progress, and there are definitely still some open storylines that need to be covered. I will create a part 2 covering the backstories of the remaining legends not featured in this video, so have no fear, you'll get to learn the backstory of each of the remaining legends in part 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come join our community of friends. I hope you enjoyed this recap and found it informative and useful. For now though, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.